define language testing for specific purposes?
Well, a specific purpose language test is one in which the test content and test methods are derived from an analysis of a specific purpose language use situation. This is rather unusual in the language testing business, since traditionally we've often based test content on some theory of the components of language and how language is used. And we've based test methods on psychometric theories about how language can best be measured. In specific purpose language testing, though, we go to the specific purpose language use situation to get our test content and indeed the test methods, which are based on the tasks that are performed in the specific purpose situation itself. Another aspect of specific purpose language testing is that we have to take account of an interaction between language knowledge and specific purpose content knowledge. We need to understand how language knowledge and content knowledge are related to each other and take account of this in assessing the results and assessing students' performance. What we want to do in specific purpose language testing is make inferences about a language user's ability to use language in a specific context of use. And this is a main defining feature of LSP testing. I think it's important to understand, though, that LSP testing really is just a special case of communicative language testing, because it shares many of the features of communicative language testing, including the notion that we are inviting test takers to actually create meaning in performing the test tasks, that we're trying to measure some aspects of communicative language ability, and we're trying to relate performance on the test to specific contexts of use in the real world. So that communicative language testing is an important guideline to the way we go about LSP testing.
If LSP testing is communicative, how is it different from general purpose language testing?
Well, I think there are two aspects of LSP testing that make it different from general purpose language testing. And the first of these is authenticity of task. Now, as I said a little earlier, what we're trying to do in LSP testing is make sure that there's a match between the tasks, characteristics of the tasks on the test, and characteristics of tasks in the specific purpose language use situation. In more general purpose language testing, that's not always possible because we don't know with any accuracy often what kinds of tasks students are going to be engaging in. Henry Whittleson, for example, more than 15 years ago, suggested that what we're trying to do in general purpose language teaching and testing is develop and measure a capacity in the students to cope with really unknown situations in the future. And in LSP testing, we do know with a great deal of accuracy very often what kinds of tasks learners and language users are going to be performing in the specific purpose situation. The second feature of specific purpose language testing that distinguishes it from general purpose language testing is the interaction between language knowledge and specific purpose content knowledge. In general purpose language testing, it was often seen, content knowledge was often seen as a confounding variable that led to error in the measurement of language knowledge, and you tried to avoid content knowledge as much as possible. In LSP testing, though, we need to take account very seriously of content knowledge and its interaction with specific purpose language knowledge.
What are the main characteristics of LSP test development?
Well, I think the first step in LSP test development is problem definition. We need to be very specific about what it is we're going to be measuring and what the characteristics are of the situation the test is going to be used in. We then need to do what I call primary data collection. That is, we need to go into the language use situation and collect samples of language that is spoken, written, and electronic language that the people in that specific purpose area produce and use in their work. We also need to collect samples of physical and visual material that are used and produced in the specific purpose situation. The third step, and I think a very important one for language test development in specific purpose areas, is the collection of what I call secondary data. That is, we need commentary on the primary data from the language users themselves, on the important characteristics of the language and the situation, the tasks that we have sampled, and perhaps even from clients, patients, students in the specific purpose area that our test takers will be interacting with. What we want to do is get as much information as we can from as wide variety of people as we can. And I think the lesson here is that specific purpose language testing is really best done in large groups. The next step is the analysis itself, and we need to develop or find frameworks for analyzing both the language, the components of language that we collected, and the characteristics of tasks that we've collected. Some work like that of Bachman and Palmer, for example, might be useful in deriving a framework for analysis. Once we've got the language and the tasks analyzed, however, specific purpose language testing is no different from other forms of language testing in that we need to develop specifications and we need to begin validity, reliability, and impact studies in specific purpose language testing. We need to do piloting, we need to do revision, just as we do in any other kind of language testing.
What are the main problems in LSP testing?
Well, the first and perhaps biggest problem is that of authenticity itself. Our ability to mirror faithfully the characteristics of tasks and interaction in specific purpose language use situations in the test situation are often very limited for practical reasons, for financial reasons, for technological reasons, for reasons of personnel, and so on. It's very difficult to mirror the characteristics of specific purpose language use situations in a test. A second problem that seems important to me is that of specificity itself. How specific is specific? Charles Alderson said a number of years ago that the ultimate of specificity is a specific test for a specific person at a specific point in time. I think we need to try for a little more generalizability than that, but it is a problem in specific purpose language testing. Furthermore, Caroline Clapham has suggested in her work that it's very difficult for us language testers to know how specific a text or a piece of material is in a technical field that we're not familiar with. And that's why I suggested earlier we need to go to experts in the field for help in this area. But it is certainly a problem for LST test development. And the third problem that I see in LST test development is the inseparability of language knowledge and content knowledge. Sometimes we wanted to measure content knowledge because we don't know whether a poor performance on an LST test is due to a lack of language knowledge or a lack of knowledge about the specific purpose area itself, particularly when we're dealing with novices in the field. So the interaction between language knowledge and content knowledge is, I think, a problem that we need much more research about and much more experience with in the field of LST language testing.